Last Friday, the Vice President, Dr. Alhaji Mahamudu Bawumia, returned the nomination forms that was collected on his behalf by his supporters earlier in the week. He returned the forms to the leadership of the new Patriotic Party, signifying the formal beginning of his ambition to lead the new Patriotic Party. And wasn't this a grand occasion? The crowd, the numbers, the good politics of a bus ride instead of showing a fleet of Land Cruisers all combined to create the appearance of a new beginning. What is this new beginning? Well, Bawumia supporters say that it will be the first time that a non-Akan candidate of the NPP is showing a formidable candidature. He's already said to be leading in the polls, and Dr. Bawumia is thought of as the best campaigner among the lot. But how did the NPP get here? Well, whether by providence or by design, the NPP has always been led by an Akan candidate. Name them Dankwa, Buzia, Owusu, Oforiata, Edubuahin, Kofo, Akufo-Addo. So how come this happened? Well, the story would have been different if one of these three men had been more ambitious. This is the story about Kwame Nkrumah, Bafo Sakoto, and SD Dombo. The story is told on page 53 of the book K.A. Buzia, A Symbol of Democracy. Is written by Anania J and is forwarded by President J.A. Kufuor. Now the story begins with the actions of Dr. Kwame Nkrumah recorded in the first paragraph of page 53 of the book, and is as follows. In 1957, the government enacted a law called the Avoidance of Discrimination Act. The act, which came into effect on 31st December 1957, stated, among other things, an act to prohibit organizations using or engage in tribal, regional, racial, or religious propaganda to the detriment of any other community, or securing the election of persons on account of their tribal, regional, or religious affiliation and for other purposes connected therewith. The book continues. All political parties apart from the CPP would have been disbanded because of the majority of their parties were either regional based or had religious affinities. In September 1957, about 3 months before the commencement of the act, the smaller parties coalesced into a unified entity called the United Party, UP. That, according to Mr. C.K. Tedem, a founding member of the UP, was a safeguard of total collapse of multi-party democracy in Ghana. The opposition parties anticipated that Nkrumah intended to make Ghana a one-party state, which he did eventually, and entrench himself as life president. The parties that constituted the UP included the Aborigines Rights Protection Society, ARPS, the Anlon Youth Organization, AYO, the Gadangbe Shifimokwe, GASK, the Ghana Congress Party, GCP, the Muslim Association Party, MAP, the National Liberation Movement, NLM, the Northern People's Party, NPP, and the Togoland Congress, TCP. So at the end of the elections, all of these parties now knew how many members they had contributed to the United Party. It was clear and mathematically obvious that the Northern People's Party, led by SB Dombo and Mumuni Bawumia, had won more seats among the smaller parties than any other group of people, including the NLM. To that extent, the leader of the minority in parliament was naturally to come from the Northern People's Party. But something else happened, recorded in the last paragraph of page 53 of the book, as follows. A remarkable feature about Buzia's appointment as leader of the UP in parliament was the trait of selflessness. that the leaders of the various opposition parties demonstrated in making Bawumia their new leader. Of the parties that merged, the Northern People's Party, the NPP, had the highest number of seats in the National Assembly, and their leader, Simon Diodong Dombo, could have remained leader of the minority in the assembly. Considering Dombo's previous position and the fact that his party was the minority party with the highest number of seats in parliament, he, Dombo, could have been the automatic leader of the new party. More so, he had the requisite qualities for holding office. However, he, Dombo, realized that Bawumia had extra attributes such as exposure and influence and clout, which would better serve the interest of the party and the country. Dombo, therefore, entrusted the leadership of the opposition to Bawumia. That act of Dombo has earned him a respectable position in the UP tradition now known as Dankwa Dombo Bawumia tradition, and the members talk passionately of Dombo's selflessness. So the matter seems settled in some people's minds. There was Dankwa, whose side of the party has been ably represented by Pa Willie and Nana Akufo-Addo. And then there was Bawumia, who was actually presented as an Ashanti candidate under the inspiration of the great Bafo Sakoto, who shares a paternal relationship of sorts with President J.A. Kufuor. In fact, Mr. Kufuor has often called Bawumia his political mentor. So, Kufuor represented the Bawumia part of the tradition. Now, they say that in spite of his selflessness, Dombo has not found a protege. So people think when some people say Edrumiso, it should have more to do with the Dombo part of the tradition than about anyone else.